So this is about racial discrimination in sports by Yun, Julian Kong, and Chloe Chang. And this is post-session presentation of us. Before we start, I have a question for all of you guys. I want you guys to ask yourself, how has racial discrimination undermined minorities' achievements in sports throughout history? So you guys can raise your hand to answer if you guys want. So I hope that you guys came up with something. So let's move on. Today, we're going to cover overview discrimination. So what discrimination is in general, like racism, like everything based on discrimination. And then we're going to cover what are some cases of racial discrimination in sports. Like we're going to cover like every single part of sport leagues, like NFL, NBA to Olympics like that. And in the third section, we're going to cover like some historical policies from like many different sports leagues. As I mentioned, like many popular sports leagues, there has been like some racist activities because of some policies there. And first section, we're going to cover about players and examples. So there are many players that I researched, and those players can be used to case studies about some examples of racist behaviors in the sport industry. And the fifth part, we're going to cover data and graphs. So there are many graphs and charts about how racism is going in sport industry in general right now. And the next slide, the last part is going to be a section for like young athletes who are trying to reach the great level despite the racism going on. So I named it as Keep Your Head Up. So this is an overview of discrimination. So what is racism? So racism is like belief that certain race are like very better than others. For example, like if I believe that being Asian is better than being a African American, then that is racism. And it's also that belief that humans can be classified into like biological entities known as races. So for example, like I'm Asian, right? So I should go there. You're black, you should go there. You're white, you should go here. That's also classifying people into biological entities known as races. So it should be considered as a racism. So who are racists, right? So racists are people who discriminate others because of their races. They are just racist, right? So for example, like if someone says like racial slur to others because they believe that their race is greater than others, that is racist because they just act based on their beliefs that certain race is greater than others. Also, I want to ask that why racism exists, right? So I believe that racism exists because of like historical factors like slavery and colonialism, because slavery and colonialism both encourage like certain races to like seize some other races, right? And it's also related to human psychology because humans are always trying to like take over something, right? So historically, like humans try to take over cultures, like everything there when they see other group of people, right? They want to take lead because of the psychological factors. And there's some more facts about racism. So where do racism occur is kind of complex, but I will say it's kind of like happening anywhere because like your office, school, stadium, like some place where like there's some sort of like human interactions, racism is always possible. And you also have to know how to deal with racism. So you just have to like not encouraging racism is like probably the best way because like we cannot do anything about it, right? We cannot stop it and we cannot like stop it like right away. We're not like God, right? So we don't have like we not encouraging racism is the best way for racial minorities like us. And however, like if you feel like you just got discriminated, like you have to notify like other organizations like police stations or even KACE, because KACE has like a program that encourages us to report any racism activities, right? So we can just report KACE about it. Also, I want to say that do not start the fight because if you start the fight, then there's going to be like bigger situation that awaits you because there will be police, there will be lawsuit, like everything. So you better not start a fight against someone who just discriminated you because yeah, just ignore them. And so the second part is about some racial discrimination in sports. This is a main topic, and it's just an introduction for racism in sports. So just like brief introduction is about like racism in sports is just like act of restricting certain players' participation in sports because of their races, right? Just because of their races. You're black, so you cannot participate. You're Asian, you cannot participate. You're white, you cannot take part of this competition. That is just like overall racism in sports. And like past examples, like most black athletes like couldn't participate in any professional sport leagues in America during early 1900s because of the like policies that encourage racism, right? But now, black athletes are like dominating the sport industry, like NBA, NFL, MLB, especially NBA, like almost like 60% or even 70% of black athletes. And that shows how black people's potential has been wasted, right? So when did the things start to change? When did they start to like change the policies? I can say that it's like after 1930 in general, because they start now after 1930, they started to accept like some black players in the industry and things haven't changed a lot. So also the outside of America, Olympics, we got Olympics here because there's so many historical policies that regarding Olympics that used to discriminate like racial minorities from participating in certain games. For example, like 1936, Berlin Olympics there, like Nazis discriminated like any other races except the Aryan race and like prevented them from participating and winning the competition. Also, there's some like European soccer leagues like EPL, La Liga, Bundesliga, and as a fan of European football leagues, I noticed that there are many issues and news regarding racism, and there are many players who got discriminated every day on the pitch, off the pitch. So many Asian and Black footballers are getting discriminated right now, and even though the rate of those behaviors have reduced now, some players like Black players or even Asian players are still getting discriminated on and off the pitch, and that's the problem because I believe that sports is for everyone, and everyone should be able to participate in sports. I think that's our human rights, right? It's basic human rights. So therefore, I believe that some athletes are 100% still experiencing racism, like anywhere on the earth. And even though like racism is prohibited now because of some policies there, some players are still getting discriminated by some people, and that's the problem because nobody will protect them, right? They have no voice because laws are just like there to technically protect them, but the one who actually can protect them is like kind of like not there for them, right? And many sports leagues are promoting campaigns to remove racism from all over the sport, right? But nowadays it got better because at least there are campaigns that promoting like campaigns to remove racism from all of the sports, right? For example, like say no to racism from FIFA or no room for racism from Premier League. That's it. They're like great examples. But still, some fans are just judging players' abilities just by their race. For example, like we often say that, oh, he's black, so he should be good at basketball. Oh, he's white, he should be good at hockey or stuff like that. So there's still some fans who judge a player's abilities just by their look, just by their race. And any action that promotes racism must be prohibited under the rules of certain sports league. That is a like common sense, right? Because there's no way some sports league are still promoting the racism and still survive till nowadays, right? So any action that promotes racism must be prohibited. I believe that that is a great option, and yeah, that should be legalized in every single sport league. All right, so third part is about historical policies, and there were some notable policies there, racism in sports, like Gentlemen's Agreement in 1920, like Fleece Pollard when Fleece Pollard became the first African American player to play in NFL. But after his like term or like service, NFL like came up with some gentleman's agreement. Like they prevented the signing of more black players, so black players couldn't able to participate in NFL. Also, there was like Negro National League (NNL). It's also in 1920, and this league is found just for the black people to participate in baseball activities. So they separate black and white people. Also, the 1936 Olympics, as I mentioned there, Nazi Germany said allow people to discriminate anyone except the people with Aryan race, especially the Jewish group was their target because of the Holocaust and their ideology that designed to discriminate Jewish people in general. And they're much more 100%, much more 100%, because policies that don't look like discriminative, but it is actually discriminated are everywhere, anywhere, all right? So nowadays, like all the American sports leagues, NBA, NFL, MLB, NHS, and even MLS, like has removed policies, right? So they basically allow all people to participate. They open up opportunities for every athlete, and they're encouraging new athletes, and they're like searching for new talents, right? They're like a youth group, right? So they can just search for new talents and develop their talents and make them eventually make them go to pro and be famous. And there is some sort, I believe that there is some sort of punishment if someone like encourage or being racist behaviors to other players or like racial minorities. However, I believe that still there's so many points that we have to fix, because many racist acts are still happening in professional soccer games in Europe. And recently there's a Jazz game there, and fans were calling certain players in like racial slurs because of their race, right? So that's the point that we have to fix. And this is a great example that shows why racial discrimination is still happening around us in any sport league. NHL is also an example, because fewer than 5% of players are people of color, right? So raising awareness, raise awareness for diversity. Social media is another example, because there's some comments that often racially disrespectful towards certain players, right? For example, like Instagram comment section, if you know, there's so many N-words there, right? So that is also a problem.
All right, so I'm gonna be going over players and examples of like racism in like major leagues. All right, the first person I'm going to go over is Jackie Robinson. He was the first African American player to play in the Major League Baseball and in the 20th century. And he joined the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947. And he played baseball for like a few years. And he was born in the early 1900s, and he died in the late 1900s. And he became a hope and like a light to all black players in the MLB, and he broke the color barrier. And then there's Jesse Owens. He was a track star, and he was considered a national hero in the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, where it was during the Nazi regime. So it was also like really important. And he was one of the first players. He was the first player to win 4 gold medals at one time in the Olympic track history. And after the Berlin Olympics, his reputation was skyrocketed. And then the next person is Tiger Woods. He's a golf player, and he's one of the best golf players in history to date. And he's a billionaire, and he's an iconic black player with impressive stats and records in every like professional like competitions. And he's a lot of ethnicities. He's 1/4 Thai, 1/4 Chinese, 1/4 Caucasian, 1/8 African American, and 1/8 Native American. So he could be a symbol of light for a lot of people. And the next person is Jeremy Lin. He's a Taiwanese basketball player. He changed the Asian American people's perspective on basketball, because there were no previous like Asian basketball players. And he went to Harvard, and he was athletic and he was academic. And Asian American kids are now hopeful of making it to the NBA or just going pro and any other places. And he has impressive stats, spending 9 seasons in the NBA. And the next person is Chang Min. He's one of the best Asian soccer players in the Premier League, and he plays for the Tottenham Hotspurs. And he's the second Korean American player in the Premier League, and the first one is Park Ji-sung, who we're going to talk about later. And he started his career in Germany, he experienced racism almost every day, and he proved himself by showing that he was good. And next person is Yao Ming. He's a Chinese basketball player. He played for the Shanghai Sharks in the Chinese Basketball Association, and he also played for the Houston Rockets in the NBA during his career. And he was one of the best Chinese basketball players, and he showed up in the NBA for a few seasons. He's also the president of the Chinese Basketball Association, and he proves that Asians can play basketball every day. Next person I'm going to talk about is Park Ji-sung. He's a legend and a symbol of Korean soccer, and he played for Manchester United. And he was also called the guy with 3 lungs, because he could run for so long without any breaks. and he won a Champions League with star players like Ronaldo, with the best soccer competition of Europe. And he was discriminated a lot because there's a chant where they would say like where is someone's dog, and then they were just discriminating against him. And the next person is Cha Bum Kun, and then he was the first Korean player to make all Koreans watch and participate in soccer games. And he played in the German Bundesliga, and he had an impressive career in Frankfurt, and he got discriminated a lot by German people, and they don't disrespect him because of his achievements nowadays. And his reputation is known as a first-gen Asian soccer legend. And the next person I'm talking about is Hideki Matsuyama, and he's the first Japanese golfer to win professional championships like the Masters tournament in 2021. And he's one of the best Japanese golfers in history. And he's currently playing now, and he got 7th in the PGA Tour. He was born in 1992, and he's the second golfer in Asian American history to win the championships. And his journey's not done yet. And next person I'm talking about, a lot of people probably know him. It's Manny Pacquiao, and he in amateur fights he has 60 wins and 4 losses, and his professional record is 62-8-2. And he was born in the Philippines, and he's a remarkable Asian boxer. And his fighting once recorded a revenue of $70 million. And once he was a center of attention, and he fought in places like Las Vegas and a lot of other places. And he's an icon for Filipino people.
Next, we have Bruce Lee, and I'm sure everyone knows him. He's a Hong Kong American actor and martial arts expert. His full name is Lee Joan Fan, and he was born on November 27th, 1940, and he died on July 20th, 1973. He appeared in his first movie at the age of 3 months, and he faced a lot of racial discrimination. And in one instance, he was mocked by British students for his Chinese background. He has many achievements. Some include him being a martial arts teacher and him just being known as a very influential person. Here's our data and graphs. So for this first graph, it's like showing kind of like a bar chart of the reported acts of racism in US sports. So if you see in like 2014, it's like you would say about 20. And then in 2015, you can say kind of dropped to like 15. 2016, almost around 40. 2017, like 40. And then like you can see as like the years progress, like the reported acts of racism go up and increase over time. The second piece of data is a discrimination map in Europe. And you can see like obviously a lot in the left side in Europe, like many people face a lot of discrimination. Number 3, this is like I know it's a really big thing in football with like how the refs call the plays, and like you can see here that especially people of color, like almost like 3 times more people of color get called on their plays than compared to Caucasian people. So you can see that change your mindset to kind of think that discrimination equals motivation. You might wonder how. Well, discrimination is usually a sign of disrespect, and by performing well and becoming a remarkable player, you can gain respect and in a way make them regret discriminating you. And also, interesting like fact is that almost all of legendary Black or Asian sports stars got discriminated, and it shows that they can also overcome that and inspire other people. And you could also prove them wrong because race does not determine your skills or justify your personality, and it also like most importantly can't judge your sportsmanship. If you really think about it, like I don't think any of world class athletes ever said that they could be with racism. They just pushed through it. So this is our works cited. Yeah.